Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is smoldering up here in New York, and we have a hot show for you today. This is the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live on Rumble, live on Twitter, Spreetly TV, Roku TV, Apple TV. We're live on TikTok. We're live on Facebook, Substack, YouTube, you name it. The Shannon Joy Show is there. And of course, you can get the SJ Show at your leisure via audio on any of your favorite podcast platforms. The Shannon Joy Network reaching over 1 million eyes and ears every single month, over 7 million impressions on this tiny, tiny little independent network. Not left, not right, just the truth straight up every day. No chaser. And we are following the news, the headlines, and it's crazy out there. You guys see, I have Ed Dowd with us today, a favorite friend of the Shannon Joy Show and expert guest. We're going to be talking about finances. We're going to be talking about the SpaceX IPO. We're going to be talking about what people are feeling on Main Street versus Wall Street, the disconnect there, data centers, and more. Cannot wait to hear what Ed Dowd has to say about basically everything. So we're going to be bringing him in just a couple moments, and we're going to keep him on for the full hour of the Shannon Joy Show, as much time as we can get with this former Blackrock fund manager. He is the CEO and founder of Finance Technologies and a wealth of information, an incredibly courageous truth teller during the dark days of COVID-19 lockdown. And I'm very interested in what he has to say about where this country is heading economically and financially. Are we looking at rug pulls, pump and dumps, the demise of the dollar? There's a lot to get to today on the Shannon Joy Show, and the headlines are just insane. I can't believe I wake up every day and the news is like a fire hose in my face. I can't even comprehend all of the crazy headlines out there. And I know a lot of you feel the same way that I do. It's, I'm white knuckled on this roller coaster along with all of you, but it's crazy, the headlines. I mean, first, and we're going to talk to Ed about this, the SpaceX IPO, a $2 trillion valuation and 24 years of losses. The company has never made a profit. It's absolutely absurd. In fact, SpaceX has lost about $41 billion over the lifetime of it, being in business. So this is historic. This is incredible. It's rife, in my opinion, with fraud and manipulation. But we're going to hear from Ed about that. But just insane. And this is just the first of many as the AI companies begin to move towards their IPOs going public in these insane valuations. We also have Trump declaring peace for the 36th time after declaring war for the 37th time. So every single time the man declares war or declares peace, there is market manipulation, pumps and dumps, and people make millions, if not billions of dollars. We'll talk to Ed about that as well. We have a giant inflatable of Elon Musk in New York City that popped up overnight. Elon has man boobs and I love ketamine tattooed onto his body, along with Grok makes child porn. No one knows where it came from and what exactly it means, but it's tattooed across a giant Elon Musk beer belly. So I don't know what to make about that. And we have a cage match on the front lawn of the White House. So UFC is setting up camp in the front lawn of the White House. Again, these headlines are absolutely insane. And the idiocracy is at its peak, I think, here in the United States of America. I don't know what to make of all of it. I don't know how you guys can know what to make of all of it. And it's just nuts. It's nuts. But we're going to see what Ed has to say. He's pretty zen in Maui right now. He's very simple life, very outdoorsy life. And he always calms me down a little bit after we have a conversation. But it's just crazy. CJP Rumble, I see you on the live chat of the Shannon Joy Show. Be my Valentine with us today. Chronozone 777. It's great to see you. Great to see everyone on TikTok as well. We are live on TikTok and growing that younger audience. I love it. Guitar Lily, OMG, Shannon Joy, we need a picture of that Elon inflatable. It's special. It's special. Whoever put that up doesn't like Elon. And, I don't like Elon either, because for a lot of reasons. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on. But Mark the Regan, great to see you as well. And of course, we have Ollie Robin 9. We have Bye Bye on the live chat. If you guys are watching right now on any of the SJ platforms, do me a favor, thumbs up, follow, like, comment, join that live chat. This is how we boost that algorithm and how we grow the organic viewership of this show. So if you are watching right now, especially on Rumble, I want you to head over, give the show a thumbs up right now and follow the SJ show. And if you're brand new to the live chat, I want to say hello to you. Edgar615, great to see you on the live chat as well. And we've got a lot to get to today. So before we bring Ed into the Joy Virtual Studio, I do want to give a big shout out to the SJ advertisers and one of our incredibly valued sponsors. We have Peter Schiff and Schiff Gold. As things begin to fall apart, as the markets become tumultuous, as the manipulations and the insider trading and the pump and dumps and potentially a massive devaluation of the dollar as the government turns on those money printers again, very hard for the little guy and regular investors, retail investors to protect themselves. And I have said to all of you for so many years, we don't know what is going to happen, right? But my strategy has always been to put everything in all the baskets. And so, as you know, I'm in cash, I'm in the stock market, I'm in retail, or I'm in real estate. We have some land, but I also have been deploying a metals strategy really for the past 10 years. I've been buying physical gold and silver. I have a gold and silver IRA to hedge against the chaos. And there is no one I trust more than Peter Schiff and the team over at Schiff Gold for all of my gold purchases. And of course, to help me invest in physical gold and silver through my IRA. Peter can help you guys as well. If you do not have a metal strategy, now is the time to learn about this. The team at Schiff Gold is amazing. They will walk you through what it means, how you can invest, and you can also buy physical gold and silver on the Schiff Gold website as well for some of the lowest spot prices. So their staff is amazing. I've worked with all of them in a variety of ways, and they love the Shannon Joy audience. So when you go to schiffgold.com/joy, that is schiffgold.com/joy, you are going to get the best customer service, and they're going to take amazing care of you. So thank you to Peter Schiff and the team over at Schiff Gold. Now more than ever, it is so important to get those strategies in place. So we are going to, without further ado, pull up Ed Dowd, who is our special guest for the hour, maybe a little bit longer if I can get him to stay a little bit longer, because we can never get enough of Ed Dowd on the Shannon Joy Show, a great friend of this program. Ed, welcome to the show, and thank you for being with us here today.
Shannon, good to be here. Good to see you again.
Well, isn't it apropos? It's been a while since you've been on the Shannon Joy Show, and we appreciate you so much. Isn't it wild that we didn't plan this, but on this historic day, this is a historic initial public offering, SpaceX, a valuation of $2 trillion, which is absolutely insane. A lot of people are talking about a rug pull. People are talking about pump and dump. They're talking about retail investors getting hosed as the original investors exit. We've seen this time and time again. But there's also discussion, Ed, about this meaning more than just an IPO with a massive valuation. It has a lot to do about the demise of the dollar as well. So those are two areas. There's a frenzy out there where people are really worried about this. I always love having you on because you are a voice of reason and you know this industry very well. By the way, guys, Ed Dowd, you can follow him on Twitter. His handle is at Dowd Edward. That's where he does most of his work. He is also the founder of Finance Technologies. You can check him out there, and a former Blackrock managing director. By the way, he took his fund, he's in tech, energy, and consumer sectors, and he took that fund when he was there from $2 billion to about $14 billion. So Ed knows what he's talking about, and there probably isn't a better person to have this discussion with today than Ed, and hopefully I'll learn something and we'll all learn something. And I hope to just let you go. I think I've talked enough already. Tell me what you think about this the SpaceX IPO as they go public, and what your thoughts are on how this is going to impact regular Americans and potentially retirees via their 401ks and their pensions.
Well, the SpaceX IPO is nothing new under the sun on Wall Street. This has
Mhm.
always happened. Classic venture capital exit maneuver. IPO is the liquidity event,
Mhm.
and there's nothing untoward about it. This is how Wall Street operates. Now, what is untoward about it, in many classic investors' viewpoints, is it's being priced at an outrageous multiple, about 95, 100 times revenues. That's just absurd. So I suspect this is going to do what a lot of IPOs do. It's going to deflate over the next 6 to 12 months, and people will lose money who bought it here as the insiders cash out. What's different about this IPO is they accelerated the timeline where the insiders can sell.
Right.
That's a little on the suspect side. Let's call it sus. Very sus. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that just a bit? Because most people don't understand the rule change that happened. Some are saying that Elon Musk pressured NASDAQ, and that there was also potentially some help from the White House as well. There are a couple things about this that are a bit sus. Can we talk about that in more detail so people can understand?
Well, there's two things. So first of all, the NASDAQ bent their rules to get it included in the index. Usually there's a seasoning period for an IPO of at least up to a year.
Right.
NASDAQ dispensed with that. The S&P was rumored to do the same thing, but the S&P decided, no, we're not changing our rules for Elon. So,
wow.
People were a little, people were already sus. If the S&P had gone that way, that would be bad, because the NASDAQ, while very big, this S&P would have been the icing on the cake. So they didn't do that. So there's two things. NASDAQ bent their rules, but also the lockup period is accelerated way more than it normally typically is. So people are going to punch out of their shares. I mean, what this means is people who have been in this company, employees, VCs, private family offices, they're going to get their liquidity, because I was talking to a guy on the street a couple of weeks ago, and his fund sold it last year, and they thought it was already overpriced at 400 billion. And so they're very mad at themselves because they got out before 1.5 trillion.
Right.
So what's gone on here is absolutely absurd. It's worth 400 billion last year. Now it's 1.7 trillion. What's changed? Nothing other than hype. Mm-hmm. So this is classic. This is classic bubble behavior. And I suspect, I have nothing to say about SpaceX, the company per se.
Right.
It could be a great stock at a much lower valuation, but it all depends. People have to separate the stock price from the company. Great companies and great stocks are two different things.
Right.
So let's talk about game theory. Elon is a smart guy. Mm-hmm. Elon wanted to get his IPO out ahead of OpenAI and Anthropic. And I think that was very clever and smart on his part, because I don't think OpenAI or Anthropic want to show the numbers that they're producing. So this is,
where's the profit? There's no profit. There's nothing there.
So Elon is very smart because he's forcing their hand, and they feel the pressure to go public. But Sam Altman has already started hedging. He's like, maybe we don't want to go public. I suspect they don't want to go public because when you go public, you have to file something called an S1. So they've already filed an S1, but it's a confidential S1. Only the SEC can see it. This is not too sus. A lot of people do this because they want to get the initial filing done. Then they release the S1 to the public before the IPO. But I suspect the numbers are so bad at OpenAI, they don't want to go public. And then this week, and the market didn't react to this. I don't know why it didn't, but it should have. Sam Altman threatened a price war.
Yes.
So let's just step back here for a second. a price war. And so this is supposedly proprietary technology. There's supposed to be a moat. This
Right.
is basically commodity business. This is when we look back and the history books are written, they're going to call this a digital commodity. We got 5 engines that basically do the same thing. Every now and then a frontier model gets out ahead. Then you got China over there, DeepSeek, following 3 months behind and offering basically what the frontier models offered 3 months ago at like 95% of the cost. It's a joke. So this is a commodity business. All the infrastructure and debt that's been used to build this out will eventually collapse. And typically speaking, IPOs like this signal the top, not the beginning.
Right.
And what's look, the biggest beneficiaries of this infrastructure build out, there have been real winners, and Nvidia was the winner. But Nvidia, like Cisco, is going to come back down to reality when the infrastructure build out pauses, stops, and goes the other way. So let's look at the stock market. I've been calling for a recession for the last year and a half. I think we're already in one, although the numbers won't tell you that. The 90% of the country is feeling it very deeply.
Yes.
This oil shock thing didn't help, and we're just waiting for the stock market to reflect our opinion, and we think that's coming soon because this last rally out of April was all AI and AI adjacent. 45% of the index is AI. And, this happened in the dot-com days, and it took 10 years for tech to get its footing again. So I'm looking at the stock market at peak valuations. I'm not going to call timing. Don't take this as an investment advice, but when this thing deflates, it's going to be brutal. And I think it's sooner rather than later because we're seeing signals that suggest a lot of equity supply is coming to the market, these IPOs, and now we have the Mag 7. They went from buying back their stock to issuing stock to fund the CapEx build out. So this whole thing is becoming a circular let's call it a circle jerk. And all it takes is just one person to break ranks. And I think OpenAI kind of hinted they might break ranks. They're threatening a price war. If there's a price war, Katie barred the door, this is over.
Okay, that's wild. That's sobering. One other element about this IPO and the $2 trillion valuation, Edward, that I wanted to ask you about before we move on to Main Street versus Wall Street. I agree with your sentiment. 90% of Americans are feeling the reality of this economy, and that was underscored by a recent piece in Brownstone from Brownstone Institute, written by Jeffrey Tucker. They have a new reality index that is astonishing that I want to ask you about, that actually takes out the manipulations when it comes to real GDP and real inflation. And it measures, how much we have lost in terms of dollar power and spending power per dollar, and it's horrifying. But this is one angle. Another thing that makes this IPO different, and this is a very it wasn't widely published, but it was a change that allowed Americans' 401ks and their pensions to be invested in some of these type of shady private credit, private equity businesses. Now that is not going to impact with the IPO and SpaceX going public, but because they are going to fast track SpaceX onto the index, so meaning that investors and people who are making investors for regular average Americans, they're going to be forced, this is my understanding, they're going to be forced to buy this stock at this insane valuation, while all of the others, the initial investors, and some of those investors were Jack, the original owner of X, which I thought was very interesting, Peter Thiel of Palantir, one of the first early investors as well, at least in X, which then became, there was a lot of manipulation to kind of merge the companies. But, are you worried? I mean, I guess it's not illegal, but that's really shady. and really unethical and very immoral. And there are fund managers who are saying, we're really pissed that we have to buy this stock while everyone else is getting out, but we have to buy it for our retail customers. Your thoughts on that?
Well, no, first of all, the NASDAQ is the only index it's going into.
Okay.
So the only people that are going to be owning SpaceX are people who own passive ETFs in the NASDAQ.
Okay.
And the weight of it is not going to be 1.7 trillion because the float is so low. They're going to adjust it. So it's not that devastating. It's not going to take down the markets.
Okay.
What's devastating is it's a signal. It's a signal that things are just hilariously overpriced.
Right.
And it's exit liquidity time.
Right.
So that's the signal. The signal is they've decided to punch their ticket and get out.
Okay.
And look, I don't blame them. This is capitalism 101. This has been going on forever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. So this is what I want to ask you, and this reflects what you just said. I saw this. I hate these anonymous fintech accounts on Twitter, but some of them are good and they write things. And I'm like, oh gosh, that makes a lot of sense. And I want to ask Ed Dowd about this. This was from Bark Meta. I don't know who this is, but they have a huge following on X. And it's about the SpaceX IPO. And it's officially, obviously, the biggest IPO in history at 1.77 trillion. And it's insane. The valuation is insane. He agrees with all of that, but he goes on to say this: SpaceX isn't the problem. The rockets are real. The demand is real. It's the money that is broken. When a company loses billions of dollars and can go public at 1.77 trillion, that number isn't measuring SpaceX anymore. It's measuring what the dollars are worth. Trillions printed, nowhere to go, nobody in control of any of it anymore. SpaceX isn't expensive. The US dollar is officially starting its death spiral. Your thoughts on
that? That's nonsense. I'm actually bullish on the dollar. I think the dollar is going to go straight up because the dollar is going to go up because we're going to go into a growth scare. There's a global liquidity problem in dollars. So when there's credit destruction and credit default cycles, the dollar goes up. When there's credit creation, the dollar goes down. So the dollar's not going to zero. Look, the SpaceX, people can understand. Elon did not raise $1.7 trillion.
Okay.
The actual money that's going from the bankers into the SpaceX vaults, so to speak, the digital vaults, is 75 billion. They raised 75 billion, and they floated 5% of the stock. So the other 95% of the stock is still locked up. So it's a very small float. There's the company is valued at 1.7 trillion, but the 1.7 trillion did not go to SpaceX. 75 billion. Okay. So people need to understand that. And then when Anthropic and OpenAI, if they ever make it to IPO, they're going to raise about 100 billion each. So the total raised, actual real money, is about 300 billion between these three IPOs.
Okay.
Their valuations, that's a different story, and those probably won't hold, and they'll probably go down 80%. So anybody buying these stocks at these prices is probably going to lose a lot of money if they hold on to them. Right. I'm not talking about traders. People, I don't cater to day traders, but this is what infuriates me on FinTwit and X is people don't really look into the details. 75 billion is what was raised on this IPO.
But let's look at a bigger picture though, Ed. And if you were the president of the United States of America and the banksters, the Federal Reserve, and these corporations which are tethered to the federal government and engaging in all sorts of fraudulent things, insider trading, pumping and dumping. We're seeing this throughout this presidency. Like they're just cheating. Federal Reserve printing money, devaluing the dollar over the past 100 years. Like it's immoral. It's wrong. It's cheating. And it might be legal because the criminals in Washington, D.C. say it's legal, but it doesn't make it any easier or better for regular people who want stability. And if they save dollars, would like to have those dollars maintain their value in the vault, right? And they've devalued our dollar over the past 60 years to such an extent that we're dealing now with this hyperinflation. Everything is very difficult and getting more difficult. And if you were running things and knew we're facing out on a sea of trillions of dollars in debt that is never going to get paid back ever, we're completely insolvent as a country in terms of that debt, and you want to move the country from a dollar to a digital money or a digital currency, and Elon Musk wants a stake in that digital currency. In fact, he wants to create a universal income or tokens that he just passes out to people. That's what he talks about ad nauseum. And you wanted to use that digital currency to control populations of people because you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can surveil it, control it, manipulate it, and essentially put the entire population of the country and maybe the world on essentially the equivalent of digital food stamps. Wouldn't you necessarily have to collapse the dollar at some point and take it to zero and deploy so much pain on the American people that they're begging for these worthless tokens so that we have nothing and we're not happy for the rest of our lives, as they talked about in 2020? I mean, I think that's what the big picture is that people are worrying about, that they're moving. Like, it's not an accident that they're going to collapse the dollar. It's on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. Your thoughts about that?
Well, I've been hearing about the collapse of the dollar since the great financial crisis, and the dollar is the DXY the dollar is a basket measured against other currencies. That's what the dollar is. And since the great financial crisis, pull up a long-term chart, it's been up and to the right. So we're in a stealth bull market in the dollar versus other currencies. So I'm not saying inflation's real and the dollar has been devalued, but versus other currencies, it's stronger. So that when I've always been of the opinion the dollar is going to fail up, then they reset stuff. So the dollar system is designed for constant credit creation. When you create the dollar is a debt-based fiat system. More credit means a lower dollar. Less credit means simplified. This is a simple. There's other factors that cause currencies to move, but
right.
Just simply more credit creation, lower dollar. Less credit creation, higher dollar. Mm-hmm. So I think so de-dollarization is actually bullish the dollar in the short term, because as people, there's always people scrambling for dollar liquidity. So it sounds counterintuitive, but I've always been under the opinion the dollar fails up, and if the dollar goes up too fast, too quick, it squeezes other nations and causes serious economic pain. The dollar is very much a financial weapon, and it is used as such. Okay. So the good news is, I don't think the dollar is going away anytime soon. The bad news is there's a new monetary system coming. I don't know when, but it's going to involve gold, because the signal is going to involve gold, because central banks are acquiring gold. Commercial banks are acquiring gold because they made it tier one capital again, which is essentially the ability to create money from your gold. Okay. Before it was tier three. They couldn't create reserves against it. Now they can. So I'm bullish the dollar long term until I see the charts break, and they haven't broken yet. So that's why, like, when people ask me, what should I be doing with the stock market, I go, put it in to take some of your money and put it in the cash. They go, but inflation's killing me. Well, inflation may be killing you, but if the stock market deflates 50%, your cash is way, it's a lot better.
Right.
So look, we are in dire problems right now. We got a real economy that's going the wrong way. Housing market's rolling over. China is rolling over, and we have fake employment numbers under the Biden administration, under the Trump. They're just fake. People are losing full-time employment and having to go get 3 gig jobs. So this is how they're pretending everything's fine. Mm-hmm. It's not fine, and 50% of consumer spending is floated by the top 10%. And once the stock market gets up the ghost, that other 10% will rein in their horns pretty quick. And I think a housing market problem will really emerge once the NASDAQ pops. Again, timing's unclear, but we're close, because when you get to 45% of the index is basically AI, how much higher is it going to go? Become 100%? I don't think so.
Right. We're going to talk about housing in a moment, and also AI, the AI bubble, and the data centers as well. I know that you had some opinions on what's going down with the data center boondoggle that is sweeping across the U.S., meeting with a lot of pushback from regular Americans.
It's Chinese propaganda, Shannon.
And, well, yeah, exactly.
That's what that's what Sam Altman and Kevin O'Leary, whatever his name is.
Yeah, they're just flabbergasted that Americans don't want massive, massive dystopian data centers in their backyard, scooping up all the energy, all of the water, and poisoning people with light pollution, sound pollution, you name it. It's really, really interesting. And, I love your analysis, Ed, because I really do. I think you are always at a 40,000 foot vantage point, and you are always, there's never any emotion. There's never any, I mean, it's just cold hard calculation, which I really appreciate. And I would say this, I would say that, this move to a new monetary system, I think, is going to be bumpy, and it's going to be tumultuous, and there are going to be winners and losers. And I just hope that as many of, the people who watch the Shannon Joy Show, or people out there who have their head on, their head on straight and they're clear eyed, are going to be able to, at the very least, survive this. And I like what you had to say. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I don't really know. It's just hard to know. I'm not an insider. You're not an insider, right? So if
I'm not in the room. No, I'm not in the room, but I like to watch what they do, not what they say. I can read the tea leaves.
Exactly. And that's why, I've been telling my audience for many, many years, I dabble in everything. There's cash, there's gold, there's silver, real estate. I can't afford any real estate right now, but I'm hoping maybe it'll be a market. Maybe when things collapse, there'll be something to scoop up. I just don't know. But I love to talk about, like, what would that look like when that shift from or to a new type of currency. I think that the good news would be if it's gold backed. I think the bad news would be if somehow they figure out a way to create this new currency and make it digital, because then I think people are going to be in a world of hurt, and I think that's going to impact liberty. No,
I'm with you 100% on that. Look, I'm on record years ago saying a central bank digital currency is slavery. And how do I know that? Because one of this ginormous man, I think he was 600 pounds, from the Bank of International Settlements, basically said that. He said, he actually told you what they were going to do if they got it. So,
right.
Believe them when they say it. And the Bank of International Settlements, if you don't know what that is, that's the central bank of central banks.
Yep.
All right. And it's a very opaque institution. No one really knows what the hell's going on there. And, all the heads of the central banks go, for a meeting once a year. No one really knows what the hell goes on there. I mean, it's a very cloudy institution. But when they tell you they're going to do it, believe them.
Right. Well, but one of the things that is really confusing for people is, yes, we know we don't like a central bank digital currency, and we have wildly rejected the concept here in the US. But, when you have people like Elon Musk talking about a universal basic income, and you have what people are now describing as a essentially private bank digital currency, all of these tech companies, these AI companies seem to think that somehow they're going to have a seat at the table in the creation of whatever this new digital currency is. And it's going to be sold as capitalistic. It's going to be sold to Republicans and conservatives and the Americans as, oh, this isn't a central bank digital currency. It's not the government. It's private corporations. And, as we know, the unholy alliance and merger of big government and big corporation is actually fascism. So we're not dealing with any type of free market situation. We're dealing with people who have seized the markets in some ways, who have engaged, in my opinion, in some ways in coup d'etat, with the sucking up of information and using technology to do so. And I just think that's dangerous. I think we have to be cognizant of that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, central bank digital currency was dead on arrival because people saw it for what it was. So then they shifted to stable coins through private banks. It's a backdoor. Look, JP Morgan issues its own stable coin, and then whoever's in the administration leans on them, turn off so-and-so's money. What's JP Morgan going to do? They're going to do it because, they get the government with a gun at their head.
Right.
I mean, look, Jamie Dimon Jamie Dimon could be Mr. libertarian, freedom-loving guy, but when the government puts a gun to your head, says, "Shut off so-and-so's money, or we're going to like find some crimes that you committed." I mean, that's how this works. It's a mafia.
We already saw that with Bitcoin. They've already confiscated large amounts of Bitcoin from certain holders when the government got involved. So we've already seen it, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, look, I'm not a Bitcoin hater or lover. I'm very neutral on the asset class. I was told years ago that the government couldn't confiscate your Bitcoin, but somehow they are able to. I don't know what's going on. So, you know,
oh yeah,
yeah. Well, you know, look, we're in very difficult times.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, and it's not easy to see the ball right now. But clearly, let's call balls and strikes. You've been very vocal about your you saw Trump one way. I put out a tweet in August of 2024 to watch for signs that the Trump administration might be compromised or infiltrated. Well, let's go forward. Where are we? Without getting personal, he's betrayed almost every campaign promise he's made. Let's just get that out there. Yeah. So if you're and at this point, you need to have an open mind and stop being tribalistic. Mm-hmm. You need to call balls and strikes, and you need to be on Team Humanity, not Team GOP, not Team Blue.
Right.
We got a problem going on, and the problem is, there's a plan to implement a technocracy to control everything we do, and it's insane, and it's satanic. Whether you believe in God or not, it's a satanic system where basically your freedoms are eradicated, and they can control you through your money. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways to resist this is pay for everything in cash, which is what I avoid paying for anything with a credit card unless I have to. I use cash all the time.
I can really see Americans beginning to value privacy, value real currency, hard assets, cash, gold, silver, whatever. I could see bartering popping up when things get really, crazy. I can see communities beginning to come together to take care of one another in a highly localized way. The trends are already there. If you look at some of the trend books for 2030 and beyond, a lot of it involves low tech. People are ditching the smart homes. They don't like the smart appliances or the smart technologies because, in addition to being invasive, intrusive, and a violation of privacy and frankly creepy, they also don't work. They break, they glitch, and then good luck trying to fix them. They're more headaches than they are helpers. And so while I like technology, and I think that there's a place for technology, and I think that there's going to be a place for artificial intelligence, I think there's going to be a place for innovations. I think that there is going to be a very real and human resistance to all of it. And I think we're beginning to see that with the data centers. So I want to go, when we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back, and I want to talk more about this. The technocracy, the techno-fascism, the big plan, how the digital currency and the digital ID and the build out of the data centers and these crazy IPOs and all of this stuff works together to implement this dystopian plan that I think, Ed Dowd, is a continuation of the beginning, which was COVID-19. I think those lockdowns started this and put this all in motion. And it was about health. It was about the medical industrial complex. It was about the pandemic for-profit model, which we saw revealed in the release of the Epstein files. Jeffrey Epstein was heavily involved in that pandemic for-profit model, which is essentially seizing humanity, taking humans as slaves, treating them as cattle, making them sick, vaccinating them, and then essentially, fixing them. It's a subscription model when it comes to health, which keeps people locked in. I think it also was necessary for establishing, that brute government control and the ability to lock us down. But I think that this next round is going to be the financial. That's going to be when the financial ball drops and they try to finally implement this entire program. That's just my kind of overview of this, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that. If you think, where you think we are in that process, and how the data centers and other, top stories of the day are impacting that. So does that sound good for you?
Sounds good.
Okay, we're going to go there in just a minute. Ed Dowd is joining us today on the SJ Show. He is a valued regular guest here on the Shannon Joy Show, and he is the CEO, founder of Finance Technologies, and you can follow him on X. His handle is at Dowd Edward. It's at Dowd Edward, and you can get connected to him there. So we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue this discussion in a moment on the Shannon Joy Show. It's at 123.com/joy. Everything that you're going to need for preparation: generators, solar panels, Faraday products. If you want to disappear and protect yourself from the surveillance state, they have an entire line of amazing Faraday products called dark bags. They're always 10% off at the satellite phone store if you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. The satellite phone store has supported the Shannon Joy Show for many years. They are amazing partners, and let's help the companies that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So if you are in the market for any of their products or services, make sure you use that promo code JOY and go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. When you are shopping at the wellness company, make sure that you use the JO. When you are shopping at the wellness company, make sure that you use the JOY promo code. It's going to get you lots of goodies, free shipping, a percentage off of your order every single time, whether it's an emergency kit or ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, whether it's a second opinion. So many people are benefiting from the telehealth that is provided at the wellness company. If you don't trust the opinion of your doctor, if you want a second opinion, if you don't trust a diagnosis, this is a way for you to go out, take control of your own health. You can get your own second opinion at the wellness company. The emergency medical kits are absolutely amazing. The contagion kit, every American needs an emergency medical kit in their home. It is an amazing source of peace of mind. You will have the life-saving prescriptions that you need, antibiotics, things like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. Sometimes in an emergency situation, certain medications are hard to get on purpose. You don't have to worry about that when you are prepared with that emergency kit. In fact, one of the listeners of the Shannon Joy Show mentioned that she purchased her emergency care kit about 8 months ago and has already used it 3 times. How amazing is that? Sometimes you just need access to that prescription. You don't have time to get to the doctor. It's such an easy process. You go to twc.health/joy. That's twc.health/joy. And you sign up. You have a consultation with one of the wellness company doctors. They work out all of your prescriptions, get them ready for you. You assemble the kit, and it is in your home on your doorstep about a week and a half later. It is such an easy process. And with the Joy promo code, you're going to get $60 off your emergency kit. It is worth every penny. People absolutely love it. And you'll get $60 off plus free shipping when you go to twc.health/joy. That's twc.health/joy, and absolutely use that JOY promo code because it's a huge discount. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. So glad to be with all of you today. If you're watching right now on any of the SJ platforms, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, Substack, if you're watching on Rumble right now, please give the show a thumbs up if you like it. Follow the Shannon Joy Show and make sure you leave a comment or join the live chat on all of the platforms. This is the way that we boost those algorithms and we grow this show organically. So you guys promoting the SJ Show has been the main driver of the growth of this network over the past 13 years. I do not get preferential treatment or algorithmic treatment from any of the platforms that I broadcast on. It is all about all of you. So please, if you like what you see every day and you appreciate the amazing expert guests like Ed Dowd that we bring to you every single week, help us grow this show. I really appreciate all of you. And if you're on the Rumble live chat right now, I would love to open up in a little bit. If you guys do have a question or a comment for Ed, please post it in all caps and post it right now. I'll go back and take a look and we'll see if we can't get to maybe some question and answer toward the end of the program. But without further ado, I want to bring it back to our special guest today, Ed Dowd. He is the founder of Finance Technologies and an expert in all things financial and all things in general. Really valuable guest to the Shannon Joy Show. And so before we went to break, I laid out, a continuation. It was an elaboration actually on what you talked about, the big plan, right? The big plan to basically seize all assets, all of humanity, digitize all of it, slap us onto a digital currency and a digital ID, complete surveillance, using AI to monitor every bit of human activity and total control. The data centers are a piece of that, but there are other pieces as well. I would love your version of that, what you see on the horizon, what you surmise is the big plan, and how far along do you think are they in terms of executing this and achieving it? And of course, the biggest question, what can we do to stop it? So I know that's kind of a big topic, but I would love to just let you go for a little while to talk about that.
Well, let's go back to COVID. I mean, COVID came. And it was obvious to me that they were going to introduce a vaccine. This is a year before a vaccine was announced. I was like, oh, they're going to introduce a vaccine passport, and then tie it to a digital ID, then to a central bank. That didn't happen. Thank God. There were, for whatever reason, they decided to, use a shot that poisoned a substantial portion of the populace. Let's go back. If I was in charge of this operation, I would have injected saline solution into everybody just to get my digital, if that was my goal, I wouldn't have made like poisonous goop, but clearly something went wrong. And
the humans started to figure it out, right? Which is why less than 10% of humans are taking COVID shots. But somehow we tend to be able to figure out what's going to kill us and what isn't going to kill us. Interesting.
Yeah. So that was, and look, I saw what the Bank of International Settlements guy said. I saw what James Bullard, who was the St. Louis Fed president, I'll never forget. It was April. It was in April of 2020. He goes on Meet the Press, and this is a Fed president talking about a disease. What's he doing? What's going on?
Right.
And it was clearly a trial balloon, and they said, hey. President Bullard, how do we bring the economy back online with this dreaded disease? And he's like, oh, we have new technologies that can surveil everybody, and we can issue immunity badges. And I was like, what is going? This is before, like, this is on Meet the Press, a Fed president. I'm like, something has gone terribly wrong here. And so I don't know if anybody knows this, but they kind of memory hold that, and they didn't bring that. That didn't go over well, at the time when it came out, I floated this on what was then Twitter, now X, and even people who were, scared of the virus thought that was crazy. So they trial ballooned that and they buried that. But that was the plan. Clearly, I mean, you don't have a Fed president talk about immunity badges and daily testing to bring the economy. But I mean, this whole thing was to get you on this goop on a subscription service. You had to take it every 6 months.
Right.
Conveniently, when we look at it, it blows up your immune system. So I think the idea, if you want to go to a dystopian science fiction movie, it's kind of like crack and heroin. You need to take it or you're going to die. I mean, I mean, I don't know if that was the plan, but it destroyed your immunity. And they kept saying you needed to take it. It wasn't, the whole thing was a subscription-based service for life,
right?
For nothing more than a cold. So
well, and it has the benefit of continually poisoning you. So once you're hooked on it, you are locked in to the medical industrial complex for the rest of your life, because there are side effects and adverse events and impacts. And so it's a wonderful way to ensnare human beings, healthy human beings, into a medical system where they're paying out for the rest of their lives until they die. And then if you're in Canada, they're just going to harvest your organs and probably sell them on the open market, or China, right? So it's taking the human body and commoditizing it. I think in the darkest analysis of the medical industrial complex and what we briefly touched on during the COVID lockdowns, that's what it was. I mean, listen, you saw hospitals taking in tens of millions of dollars per hospital for deploying the countermeasure and the government protocol of don't come in until you're blue in the face. Then we're going to starve you, dehydrate you, shoot you up with remdesivir, put you on a ventilator, and then you die. And every step of the way, we cash in, cha-ching, 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 right? Like, so you can see that model, and it's a horrifying model. It's legalized democide because they made it legal and gave liability protection to all the doctors and all the pharmaceutical companies and all of the state officials who deployed it. I mean, we saw it. It was right there. And, you know, I think that in the way that they made institutional mass killing legalized during COVID, you know, right now it seems as if they're making institutionalized mass theft legal so as to put us onto this, you know, it's the second attempt at getting us onto this digital ID and digital currency. Your thoughts?
Well, let's go back to COVID. This is what's bothering me. We elected Trump. We got Bobby Kennedy that came on board, and it was supposed to be this, you know, huge sea change. The only elephant in the room I see is COVID, you know, reconciliation, COVID truth, and mRNA shots. They don't touch that. Bobby doesn't touch it. No one touches it. And I'm not blaming Bobby because he's not the boss, but there's clearly a decision that has been made. We're going to memory hold this because it's the greatest scandal in the history of this country, and it's continuing to kill, you know, thousands and millions of people and disabling them. I just put out on X yesterday or 2 days ago the latest disability numbers. They went to a new all-time high in the month of May. We've added 6 million people to that identify as disabled. And again, a lot of people think this is all fraud and it's like illegal aliens. This is a survey. This is just people answering yes to one of 6 questions. If they answer yes to one of them, they're labeled the BLS survey puts you down as disabled. You may not even self-identify as it, but they put you down as that. So it's a survey. And it's not 100% accurate because it's a statistical survey, so it's imputed. So it's the best number we got. Is it all due to the COVID shots? No, but mostly. That's my humble opinion. There's a little bit of population growth. There's a little bit of the aging of the baby boomers, but not a 22.5% increase in 6 years at a 3 standard deviation trend change. Right. Senator Ron Johnson's the only one who's talking about this. God bless him. You know, that's one of the only politicians I really like at the moment. Yeah. So, you know, let's talk about that. So here we are now, and now we're going to trust, you know, them to create this AI system, with data centers, and we're going to be like, oh yeah, it's going to create this nirvana economy. First of all, AI is not ready for prime time. The corporations are starting to push back on it. There's no ROI. The true cost of it is way more than the benefits, because it takes so much infrastructure and money and power to produce these results. Right. And they're not a panacea. So then the other thing you get going on. Look, what's China's strategy in this? They're not building the number of data centers we're building. They're going the other way. They're decentralizing this, and they're dumping it on the U.S., which is their model. They dump cheap goods, and so you know, China is dumping their cheap AI models onto the U.S. and corporations are already switching because it's like, you know, OpenAI and Claude. That when people got the bills, they said, no, this is ridiculous. So this whole thing is starting to unravel before our eyes, and I think. Why we're seeing the protests is because, look, there's always been data centers, and you know, Amazon, Google, they've been building data centers for decades, but they were slow and methodical. You know, they would get it sourced and they would put it in a place. But now there's such a land grab because of this bubble mentality in corporate America and among investors. They're just building data centers willy-nilly. So obviously people are going to get up in arms because, like, you can build a 60 square mile data center in Utah? Have you lost your freaking mind? I mean, it's insane.
Ed, you're touching on something. Daniel Horowitz, and I know you've been on with Daniel before, and he's been doing some really great work on all of this. And I actually just got retweeted by Alex Jones the other day, and he used one of my statements about Daniel Horowitz and what he said about the land that was really interesting, is that this isn't even really about data centers. It's about a land grab. They're using the AI arms race and some of the policies of the president of the United States of America and eminent domain and all of this hype to go in and say they're going to build these massive Manhattan-sized data centers. But really, they know that the vast majority of those projects are not even going to go through. They're going to get shut down, but they're gobbling up the land and using eminent domain and a lot of shady tactics to do so. I thought that was like, that made so much sense to me because it just seems, I mean, just outrageous, the scope of these projects and the amount of time and money, and they become completely irrelevant, or they have to be refurbished within like 3 years, 4 years. I mean, the whole thing just seemed insane to me. What are your thoughts on that? That this is really just a on the DL land grab using all the hype of AI to justify it?
Well, that some of that may be true, but this is an old con. This Hollywood movies have been made about this, and senators have been caught doing this. Like, a development is going to go up, and you know ahead of time where it's going to go, and you buy for your approval. You buy land around and adjacent to it for pennies on the dollar, somewhere where no one's built anything.
Right.
Then you grease the skids to get the approvals. Then you sell that land to the people. You have some shadow, LLCs, yep. Cayman Islands, and you make millions. It's a backdoor bribe. This has been going on forever. This went on during the railroad building days. This is an old con. This is
right.
So I think these guys have gotten ahead of themselves, and I think a lot of these guys are going to be left holding the bag on some land that they bought. You want my personal opinion?
Good.
Yeah, because look, human psychology works for crooks too, and I want to remind people about this AI bubble. So I remember the .com bubble, and there was all this speculation and imagination. So a lot of these like companies that didn't really have any brick and mortar, like pets.com, and they were going to disintermediate like all these businesses. All these brick and mortar companies were going to go to zero. And the stock market kind of reflected that. So the C-suite of corporate America got scared. So everybody in 98, 99, and 2000 had a .com plan. Mm-hmm. And they had to talk about it. And then eventually the bubble burst, and then they slowly, had a .com plan, but it wasn't and they all they threw money at the problem. And so that fed the bubble because it looked like real economic, but it was just scare tactics. Let's look at what every Fortune 500 company has an AI plan. They don't really know why. The CEO and the CFO and the C-suite, tells their underlings created an AI pilot. They give them some money, they give them some budget. So it creates this, this frenzy. Yeah. This frenzy is going to burst, and human psychology works. Bubbles work on everybody, not just the insiders get swept up in it too.
Sure.
And some insiders are going to get wiped out.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you, and thank you to Mav 2022 for this question. By the way, if you're on the live chat, in all caps, if you have a question for Ed Dowd. By the way, we just got banned on TikTok, Ed. So there we go. I'm broadcasting live on TikTok from behind the scenes from my phone. And our live access has just been removed because you and I are violating the TikTok community guidelines talking about COVID, I'm sure. So I thought that was interesting. You never know when they're going to pull you off the platform. I thought that was very interesting.
It's absurd we're still censoring COVID, in 2026.
Absurd. TikTok.
It's just absurd. Well, TikTok is now owned by Larry Ellison?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about that guy. I know Larry. I used to invest in his stock at Blackrock. Okay. Larry has got an ego problem. And Larry has told you what AI is going to do. He literally says it's going to surveil everybody and put everybody on their best behavior. Believe him when he says that. Just
Oh,
believe him.
absolutely. Well, and that's probably what TikTok is all about. And, I personally believe that Elon Musk bought Twitter, not because he loves free speech, but I think that he saw Twitter as a tool to help hype the valuation of his companies, to help push the presidency, Donald Trump into the presidency using that platform. And so it's not surprising to me that these billionaires are purchasing these platforms that are, garnering billions of views in order to shape and mold public opinion. So, yeah, not cool, Larry Ellison, not cool. Speaking of Larrys, let me ask you about this. Mav 2022, Larry Fink stated recently that they would be using Americans' 401ks and pensions to fund AI. Donald Trump recently said that the government is going to partner with these AI companies and invest in AI corporations like OpenAI and those types, essentially printing tax dollars and investing the American people in these companies. Do you think that people's pensions and 401ks are in jeopardy right now?
Well, Larry's a little late to the party. I said this in other podcasts. People said, "What Larry Fink says they're going to use." The money's already been used. Your pension funds have already funded this. The insurance companies that's what private credit is. Private credit is opaque. Private credit is shut down right now. BlackRock's private credit fund today, another one gating. They're gating withdrawals. So the private credit funding markets are shut down effectively. And so that's why I'm so negative on the U.S. economy, because once credit turns, everything turns eventually. Eventually, everything goes the wrong way. PIMCO, one of the largest fixed income investors, a steward of people's money, very conservative. The head of their research, or CIO, came out and said, "We've begun the credit default process, and it's going to get worse from here." That's a credit cycle that comes at the end of an economic boom. So we're already rolling over. The stock market equity people are always late to the party to figure this out. The fixed income people are already pulling in their horns. Larry Fink is basically telling you it's already happened. I mean, it's already happened. So, the insurance companies have a lot of this dreck on their balance sheets. The pension funds own it through private credit funds and private equity. It's the party. And now this is the funniest thing about the AI announcement. Apparently, the companies weren't aware that they were going to be visiting the White House. So Trump just said it, and then they're like, "Oh, I guess we're going to D.C." And so it's crazy. So, look, what they're not going to. It's not a bailout. It's an equity stake, and an equity stake it'll be small, but someone made a good point. It'd be like the White House in 1999, 2000, saying, "We're going to take stakes in Pets.com, Ask Jeeves, Excite, Yahoo, and oops, we picked the wrong ones." So the government OpenAI could go to zero. The government should not be in the business of picking winners. It's a joke. So the people, even though it's only an equity stake, it means that eventually this could lead to bailouts down the road. But honestly, I don't think there's no way they can bail out an industry at bubble valuations. If they do, there'll be riots in the streets, because this is the most absurd thing I've ever seen. I don't think a bailout's coming. I think a bunch of capital will get destroyed. My guess is, if the government was smart and really wanted to create an AI surveillance system, they let private money build this out, blow up, then they come in and buy it for pennies on the dollar, then enslave us. If I was running the show,
right? Well,
do it at the bottom.
I guess a theme of this show is that luckily these wicked, sinister, narcissistic, malignantly narcissistic, psychopathic rulers are also often kind of dumb too. And so
and they get caught up in human emotions and bubbles.
Right.
I mean, look. This is classic bubble behavior, and a lot of people. I'm of the opinion there's going to be great companies that come out at the bottom of this, but we don't know what they are. Google, Facebook, you can talk about the questionable ethics of those companies, but if you were an investor, The dot-com money was made after the bust in the real companies, after the
Right,
bust.
right.
You
I
know,
just, you know what I want, Ed? I want companies that make mechanical things that work for a very, very long time. I hate my smart car. I don't want smart appliances. I don't want a smart, like, I want a washing machine that washes clothes and that's it. And doesn't need to be fixed and doesn't have bells and whistles. And if there's a company that does that, I'm investing in it because that's what I want.
I think that's coming. I think there's. Look, I want to give you an anecdote. Just the other day, someone drove down my driveway. They thought that they were renting this house
Okay.
from me, and they tried to back up. They were in a rental car. They just picked it up from the airport. They were supposed to be the property next door. The car shut down because the car shut down. Because I'm sitting there, I told them to back up, go back into my place, and I see that it's like 10 minutes later. I go, is there a problem? The car won't move
Unbelievable.
because it's detecting that it's going to hit something. And he was trying to just. This is like a 35-year-old guy with a family of 4.
Oh my
And
God.
and he's sitting there in the screen on the rental car trying to disable this system. I said, "Why don't you shut the car off, turn it back on, and see if that works?" And it did. So like there was I was like, "Are we gonna have to get this car towed because it shut down?"
Right.
This is where we are.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. What do you make of? And I'm going to let you go after this because I've kept you longer than I should have already. But what do you make of the number of? I'm astounded, flabbergasted. I think it's breathtaking. The number of seemingly insider trading, the pumps and the dumps, Donald Trump using the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, opening it, starting the war, ending the war, the bully pulpit, his office within the presidency, his connections to people in the banking industry, private corporations, the tech industry. I mean, this, investing in OpenAI is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this president and the brazenness with which he is using the office to make a shitload of money for himself, his family, and his cronies. From my perspective, it makes what Hunter Biden and Joe Biden did pale in comparison. What they did was bad. The difference from my perspective is that the Trump administration is normalizing this, normalizing what I think is criminality, and they're acclimating the American people, almost grooming us to accept criminals and crooks and predators and abusers in positions of power. Your thoughts on that as we close out the interview?
Look, there have been thousands of people on X that are trading professionals who say very shady things are going on before announcements, big volumes. So somebody somewhere is getting the information. Investigations need to be done. So I'm not gonna say that the Trump family is profiting. They might be, and look, he's going to lose the midterms if this keeps up, and the Democrats are going to open up investigations. So this is all going to come out in the wash. I talk to a lot of Wall Street professionals. At this point, they're tuning out Trump. They don't care what he says anymore. They're done. Because it flip flops every 48 hours, 24 hours, sometimes within the day. And I put out an important piece. I have a website at Dowd.com where you can subscribe, and I have about 5,000 subscribers. I put out an email. I don't email people a lot, but I put out a piece on the Iran war, and basically we need a deal. If we don't get a deal, the price of oil is going to shoot up soon because the strategic petroleum reserves are starting to hit bottom.
Wow.
And Exxon and Chevron have said if we don't get a deal soon, oil is going to shoot up to 150. Whether they're talking their book or not, we need a deal sooner rather than later because the stock market and the oil market have already discounted the deal. So we need a deal. And look, whatever you think of Trump, I don't care. Let's all hope and pray he gets a deal. We need a deal because if we don't, we get another second wave of the oil shock prices at the pump are already up 40%. If we get $150 oil, prices will go up another 50%. So you're looking at a very bad summer for driving if that's the case, and it'll only cause the economy to go that much deeper into a recession I'm already expecting.
Right.
So, and also, if some people are interested, I do offer consulting services from time to time. So you can look me up there. And also, it's at Dowd.com. And I'm also thinking of starting a Substack in July. Interestingly enough, I've kind of updated. I guess I don't remember this, but I signed up for Substack 3 or 4 years ago. I already have over 1,000 free subscribers, and I haven't done a post. So I'm going to start doing. I'm going to move away from X and start going on Substack.
Ed, I have done the same thing. I am loving Substack. I've been very slowly moving over to Substack. It's elegant. It's amazing. It's easy to go live. It's easy to edit and clip. And it's very, very accommodating for writers. So if you're,
I'm gonna do a lot of writing. There'll be some behind the paywall posts, but I want to create a community of like-minded people.
Yes.
And look, this is not about blue or red. This is about team humanity. It's about having an open mind and not believe. Look, there's no gurus out there.
Right.
Shannon, you and I, people may think, oh, we're honest, and we are. But if I start going sideways, judge me by what I do, not what I say. You have to do that for everyone, because everyone can be tempted at any moment.
Things can change in a hot second. A person who was not blackmailable yesterday could become blackmailable the day after if they do. You know what I mean? Like, so everything, I've said that for so many years that people change. You have to judge people by their fruit and their consistency. And Ed, it's one of the reasons you've been a longtime guest on the Shannon Joy Show is your consistency. It's impeccable. Your analysis is always incredibly valuable. And I am so excited for your Substack. I'll promote your Substack. I'll recommend your Substack. I want more of Ed Dowd. So yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to launch it probably in July. But okay. Let's just say this: judge people by what they do, not what they say. And my number, if anybody wants to know, my number to be blackmailed is $1 trillion. So if 1 trillion. Everybody has a number. My number's $1 trillion.
I don't have a number, Ed. I don't have a number.
I'm joking. My number's so high. No one's going to give me $1 trillion. I'm not that important. I'm just not that important.
This is what I think. I've always said that I think one of my superpowers is that I don't really care so much about money. Like, I want money. I want to be able to pay my bills. I don't want to be a deadbeat. I want to be able to send my kids to college and pay for their weddings and that kind of stuff. But it's, at least for me, for whatever reason, it's not a major driver of what I do. And I'm not saying that because I'm more virtuous or less virtuous than anyone. It's just not anything that has really driven me a whole lot. And I just think that there are people out there, that operate in that way. And I think that you're like that, you have put money in its place. And I think that gives you a clearer head. And that's why you're so good at talking about money, because it's in its place. But, as you said, these things can always change depending on circumstances and things like that. But
look, what changed me permanently was the COVID situation. And when I saw the whole system ignoring strong signals that this thing was killing people, that was it for me. Something's gone off the walls and the rails, and it means the institutions are so corrupt. And look, we put in a guy that was supposed to change this, and nothing's happened. So basically, it's team humanity, local. I'm not saying don't vote, but it's not good.
Right. I'm considering boycotting the national elections. I'm running for lieutenant governor in New York State. So I'm still about state elections and local elections because I love the organization. I think the organization is a really important element of running for something. And I think that decentralized, localized organization across the country is going to be absolutely critical, especially if we have another major event or some type of collapse. We're going to need each other very organically and in a human way at the local level. So, I'm up in the air with these voting machines. I have a tough time with them, but that doesn't mean
look, I have no skin in the game in LA, but we saw what happened. And look, honestly, I think Spencer Pratt is a clown, but that's me.
Wow.
But he could have been, but he was the man for the moment,
Yeah.
and he had a good message, and they did not want him going up against Karen Bass, and it's statistically impossible what happened after the mail-in ballot started. It's impossible. Bass didn't move, and that third place candidate who was crying at the podium when she said she lost, she just gained. Statistically impossible.
Yeah.
It was stolen. It was stolen in our faces.
Yep. Yep. And well, they like to do it right in front of our faces, don't they? It's part of the humiliation process. The humiliation ritual. They like us to know exactly what they're doing. That's why I think they have that UFC cage match on the front lawn of the White House. It's like they're mocking us. That's the way I see it.
This UFC, I don't even know.
I know. It's insane. Ed Dowd, you are the best. EdDowd.com, EdDowd.com. Go there right now. Sign up, subscribe. Some of the best analysis out there in the country today from one of the most consistent and courageous truth tellers of our time, Ed Dowd. I'm looking forward to your Substack. Keep up the great work, okay?
Thank you. Great to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us. Guys, we're going to go to break really quickly, and then when we come back, I'm going to get some of your comments. We'll finish out the show. We have about 13 minutes left to go here on the Shannon Joy Show, and I'm going to spend that with all of you, taking your comments and your questions. I see we have a nice big viewership over on YouTube right now. So I'm going to check the YouTube feed. Of course, we're not on TikTok because we just got banned for speaking the truth here in the SJ Show, but that's par for the course for this program. I'm very used to getting rug pulled, thrown off of platforms, deplatformed, censored, shadow banned, you name it. But that is just one of the necessary evils of truth telling every day. So when we come back, I'm going to take your comments. I'm going to check out those YouTube comments as well. Keep it tuned right here, guys. We'll be back in a minute on the Shannon Joy Show. He also said this: it looks like the correction in the tech stocks, so not just Bitcoin, but that bubble that we are talking about, has finally begun.
Bye, Shannon.
That's bad news for Bitcoin and the tech stocks, as the tech rally was its main support. As we see the tech stocks begin to sell off, Bitcoin should crash. Gold will likely head in the opposite direction as investors now finally begin to buy a true safe haven asset. We haven't seen huge gains in gold and silver because the dominance of the PSYOP, the marketing campaign, the propaganda campaign that has been waged against the American people and against the markets over the past 3 years, hyping up the AI bubble relentlessly. I've never seen anything like it. At some point, people are going to realize, and investors are going to realize, retail investors and institutional investors are going to realize that there's no there there. And everybody is realizing it now. I'm seeing it all over my social media. Everything that we told you here on the Shannon Joy Show is coming true. And this is when people move into safe haven assets. Safe haven assets for, the entirety of human history have been gold and silver, predominantly gold. If you do not have a gold strategy, I want to highly encourage you to go to shiftgold.com/joy. That is shiftgold.com/joy ASAP, like today, to get your metal strategy in place. At Shift Gold, you can buy and sell physical gold and silver. You can explore hedging against the chaos with a gold or silver-backed IRA. And he even has an option for tokenized gold, which gives you the ability to buy physical gold and silver. You don't take custody of it, but you can buy it in smaller chunks. So you can allocate $50, $100, $200 a month to that tokenized gold. And as soon as you hit a certain threshold, you can trade it in and you can actually take custody of your physical gold and silver. It's a great option for people who don't have enough money to meet those reserves if you're buying physical gold and silver, and for younger investors, people who want to begin to hedge. So that's shiftgold.com/joy, shiftgold.com/. All right, make sure that every time you shop at the satellite phone store, sat123.com/joy, joy, that is sat123.com/joy, you are using the JOY promo code. That is going to get you at least 10% off your entire order. And if you're looking at products like generators or solar panels, if you're looking at a satellite phone and you're going to get a satellite phone subscription, those could be upwards over thousands of dollars. So that 10% discount is going to be huge. But they do have the entire line of Faraday products, the dark bags. So these are amazing. The Faraday technology not only protects you from harmful EMF radiation, but it also protects your phone from an EMP attack or any type of breakdown. So great products. The Faraday collection also shields you, protects you from the prying eyes of the federal government or the big tech bros. That's right. When you drop your phone or your device into a satellite phone store Faraday bag or backpack, you're off the grid. You are untraceable. They can't find you. And it gives you that added element of privacy while also protecting you from those harmful EMF radiation rays. So just really great technology, the best out there, and at the best prices when you use that JOY promo code. So sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the final segment of the final show of the week of the Shannon Joy Show. So great to be with all of you today. Isn't Ed Dowd just the best? And I agree with you guys on social media. Ed Dowd is amazing. No ego whatsoever. And I totally agree with you. Bye-bye says thank you to Ed. CJ P. Rumble. Ed, when can I move in? Chronozone 777. Ed, you're the man. Ed is great. Ed is great. When you stumble upon a truth teller, and that doesn't mean that we're always right. It doesn't mean that we always get things right or the analysis is always perfect. But when you stumble on a truth teller, someone who is very courageously resisting the psyops and the propaganda and the mindset on both sides of the aisle, it is such a refreshing thing. And there is so much clarity and there is so much to learn. And that's why Ed Dowd continues to be a great friend to me and also a great friend to the Shannon Joy Show and all of you. So I want to go to this live chat on YouTube. For those of you watching on YouTube, love you guys. This show is growing by leaps and bounds on YouTube, and we have so many live chatters. Cherokee is with us today. Great to see you, Eno. James Warner, 5895, good to see you. Hey, Block Stocks X, good to see you as well. We have one Renee with us today. Ed Dowd is super smart, super analytical, and informed. And Renee, this is why I have him on my show on a regular basis. This is why I choose all of my guests very clearly. Only the best of the best are expert guests on the Shannon Joy Show. It's not about me or my analysis. I go out and I look for people who are nonpartisan, not left, not right, not holding the Republican bag or the Democrat bag, people who are consistent over time. I look for over 10 years of consistency and people who are courageous, people who are willing to lose, willing to stand up and lose something in exchange for telling the truth and being authentic. And that is the litmus test for the expert guests and friends of the Shannon Joy Show. So Renee, thank you so very much. And that should be a litmus test for all of you when you're looking for sources. When you're looking for analysts and experts, there are so many fake accounts on social media, Facebook and Twitter, so many people who are not showing their faces. They're hiding behind avatars or cartoon characters. Take those with a grain of salt. Go for the people that you know, people that are human, and people that you can vet over time for consistency. That is how you find good analysts. It's not necessarily partisan. Let's go to, I see you, Meow. $6 gas incoming, says Meow Meow. Who else do we have on the YouTube live chat? Annie C. Day, love you, Shannon. Love Edward Dowd. Hey, Sharon, great to see you on YouTube as well. Ed is a very smart guy. Oh, yeah. And TikTok was just bought by Larry Ellison. And so I blame Larry Ellison for my banning on TikTok that just happened today for telling the truth here on The Shannon Joy Show. Fearless Rose in USA, so great to see you. Truth seekers are my friends. CJP Rumble, he is so gracious with his knowledge. I agree with you. Hey, General Patton, great to see you on the Rumble live chat. Hey, if you're watching on Rumble right now, follow the Shannon Joy Show. Give the show a thumbs up. Join that live chat because this is how we add viewers every single day. Who else do we have on the live chat for Rumble? What are you guys doing this weekend? What do you have going on? I have a lot going on. I think that the last couple weeks have been the busiest weeks of maybe my entire life. So much going on with all the kids. My daughter is graduating, so we have all of the things for graduation parties and graduation breakfasts and graduation this and that, the actual graduation. It's just so much. So devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy and I this weekend are sprucing up the house. So we're having a working weekend. So we're going to touch up the house with the paint and we're going to do a little landscaping. Hopefully my hydrangeas will bloom. They always bloom. Hydrangeas are my absolute favorite flower. I have them all over my yard. And I love that endless summer hydrangeas because they rebloom all summer and I'm just obsessed with them. I'm a little obsessed with my hydrangeas. The kids make fun of me all the time. I'm really getting into gardening because I like to be outside. Like I want to chuck my phone and not even look at it and get like my bare feet on the ground and my hands in the dirt and my face in the sun and just be human. Like that's what I'm obsessed with right now. And gardening helps to do that. But anyway, so I think one of the reasons I love hydrangeas so much is because they always seem to bloom on my birthday. And I'm turning 49 on Monday, this coming Monday. So I'm almost 50. No, not 97. Thank you, Jesus. But, I'm going to enjoy the 50s. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that my hydrangeas are going to bloom and I'm super excited about that. What else are we doing? Let me see what you guys are doing. Fearless Rose. Fearless, I don't disagree with you. I have moved from sorrow about what's going on in this country to outright wrath. It's the Sicilian way. Now I want justice and vengeance. It's a fine line. Fearless, I'm with you. I want justice. These rat bastards have been abusing us for the past 6 years. I mean, really, they've been abusing the trust of the American people for 60 years or more. But we've let them get away with it for so long. And I am ready for a full-scale revolution. Peaceful, of course. But everything but the kitchen sink. Mark the Regan, how about the petitions, Shannon? Mark the Regan, thank you for asking me that question. I'm going to have Larry Sharp on the program with me next week. He's been wanting to come on to give you guys all an update about what is going with our run for governor and lieutenant governor of New York State. So we did not meet our goal for the petitions. In fact, we were off by like tens of thousands of petitions. We tried really hard. We went out, we got the signatures, but New York State makes it virtually impossible for an independent candidate to get on that ballot line. They make it incredibly difficult. They run you through the rigmarole. And so because of that, we are going to be suing in New York State. Larry has a great case. He's going to continue with this. And there's a lot that we can do organizationally to try to get on the ballot the next time. So I think this is the beginning. We did not get enough petitions, but we could still get on the ballot. And Larry will be on to talk to you guys about that, hopefully next week. Fearless Rose in USA. Shannon, I will pray for your hydrangeas. I have a green thumb. Sending positive flower vibes your way. I think I might have grown the most perfect hydrangea in the entire world. I have these 3 humongous hydrangea bushes, and sometimes they flop down, and so I'll get the clippings, and from the clippings, I plant new hydrangeas all over my house. And there is one particular bush that I planted 2 years ago, and this year, I'm astounded. It is like perfectly shaped. It has blooms everywhere. It is the happiest little hydrangea plant I have ever seen. And I am so excited to see how it blooms. So I'll take some pictures. If you guys want, I'll take some pictures and I'll post them on social media of my hydrangeas because they are very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Clones, good to see you. Mark the Regan, good to see you. Who else do we have? Johnny Reb 1860. Great to see you on the live chat. That's the first time I've seen your name. If you guys are watching on Rumble right now and you've never said hello, please pop onto the live chat right now and say hello to me because I want to say hello to you. Who else do we have here? Hells Bay is with us. Truly, Shannon, an awesome interview. Excellent content. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a nice weekend. Oh, thank you so much, Hells Bay. Appreciate you. I do the best I can. I'm not the best interviewer sometimes, but I always overthink my interviews. And I had 14.1 questions for Ed. I had 4 pages of questions for Ed Dowd today. As I mentioned, I overthink things. I didn't even end up looking at them. We just ended up talking. But I thought, no, I learned so much from him every single time. All right. Ooh, Chronozone 777 says that playing classical music for my hydrangeas will help them to grow better. I love classical music, Chronozone. Thank you for that piece of advice. All right, guys, I think that's it. Thank you to our sponsors, of course, the Satellite Phone Store, Shift Gold, the Wellness Company, and of course, our friends over at PCM and Associates. As you all know, my philosophy in terms of preparing for anything in these very tumultuous times is having investments everywhere. I save a lot. I'm out of debt. Thank you, Jesus. It took a while to get completely out of debt. But one of my strategies is a little bit in cash, a little bit in gold and silver, of course, physical gold and silver, real estate, also land, cash, and I do have a little bit in stocks and bonds as well. My financial advisor is Dom Polano of PCM and Associates. And not only is Dom Polano brilliant, he reminds me a lot of Ed Dowd. He's very steady, very stable, very analytic. He has talked me off a couple ledges at certain points when I was about to make some bad financial decisions. And he's just the best of the best of the best. He's honest, upright, trustworthy. He's been my financial advisor for over 15 years. And he's also the very first advertiser of the Shannon Joy Show. It was Dom Polano of PCM and Associates 13 years ago who took a gamble on a girl who wanted to start a radio show. And he came in with that initial funding. And I mean, here we are now. Isn't that great? Dom Polano is amazing. And he is a brilliant financial manager, and he can help you too. He's opening up his practice to everyone across the United States of America. You can find out how to connect with Dom Polano and his team at PCMPolano.com. That's PCMPolano.com. There is an 800 number up at the top of his page. You can call him. He will answer the phone. You can ask him your questions, and he's going to take great care of you. Things are very crazy right now. Very tumultuous, and you want someone that you can trust. You want someone who's going to tell you the truth and someone who is going to keep a steady foot in these really, really crazy times. And that person is Dom Polano. Also a person who shares your values, which is really important. So PCMPolano.com is the website, PCMPolano.com. All right, guys, you are the best. Thank you so much for being with me today. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back on Monday to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.